everybody, and welcome to MangaPod. We are a weekly podcast in which we all get together after we read all or part of a manga, and then we discuss it with friendship, love, and lots of spoilers. This week we are discussing Sanctuary, chapters 1 through 27, aka the entirety of part 1. I am Erin of Happily Erin, your host, and with me are two of my three lovely co-hosts, as well as a very special guest, and we're going to have everybody go around and introduce themselves, starting with Dodger.
Hi guys, I'm Dodger. Full disclosure, I was definitely asleep just like 15 minutes ago, so I'm still working through that. But yeah, let's talk about some Sanctuary, shall we?
Sanctuary.
Hey guys, I'm Lou from Lou Talks Anime, and I'm really good at rock, paper, scissors. Or was it
Paper, rock, stone,
scissors,
or
stone.
paper, scissors, stone.
Paper, scissors, stone.
Paper,
That's
rock,
what they
stone. Would rock or stone win, guys? Which one?
That's, I don't know,
One
like that
stone
question is putting me
looks like
between a rock and a
scissors,
hard
though.
place.
Oh God.
But hey,
I'm Jeff Thu, professional shitbag, and I'm considering getting out of here because of that pun. But
Don't leave us.
yeah, I'll stay. I run the YouTube channel MothersBasement, where I analyze the opening theme songs of anime and scenes and other small parts of anime that are cool, and I talk about why anime is cool. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. I had a lot of fun the last time we were on, and it's cool to be talking about something that's not like vaguely pornographic manhwa.
Yeah, it's true. I agree. I agree with you. If you guys have never joined us for MangaPod before, what we like to do is give you a short spoiler-free description of the manga that we read, aka a summary, and then we will give you our spoiler-free recommendations, whether we think you should spend time going to read this manga or not. That way, if it sounds like something you're interested in and you don't want to be spoiled for, you can take your leave once we get to spoiler section and go read it. Come back and watch the VOD of this on youtube.com/happilyerin, where all of the previous manga pods are hosted. We do ask that everybody in chat, please do not post any spoilers until we get to the spoiler section, and then after that, please don't post any spoilers for anything past what we read, aka chapter 27. Alright, so let's go ahead and do our spoiler-free description, if you don't mind, sir.
Alright, let's do this. Okay. Oh no, my phone's on. Okay. Akira Hojo and Chiaki Asami are childhood friends who have experienced hell and live to tell about it. They arrive in Japan to attend school and soon witness the corruption and apathy of the country's population. Enraged, Akira and Asami vow to create a new Japan, a sanctuary with a new form of politics devoid of corruption, where the people are empowered to participate in the politics and future of their country. To accomplish this, Hojo and Asami aim to conquer Japan through two dramatically different routes: the Japanese diet and the Yakuza. Decided by a game of rock, paper, scissors, Hojo ventures to seize control of the underworld while Asami pursues the position of prime minister. Sanctuary is a dark political thriller that tells the story of these two friends as they attempt to change Japan from inside out and create their sanctuary.
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 Thank you for reading that. Let's go ahead and do spoiler-free recommendations. Would anybody like to go numero uno?
I guess I could go, because this is one of my all-time favorite manga. I actually put this in one of my top lists back in the day of 5 manga that I think would make great anime, and probably never will get turned into anime because, let's be real, it's like 30 years old.
But
Those things are always
you can
just wind up
believe.
being sad because you're like, God, yeah, right? When are those going to be anime?
I specifically didn't put 20th Century Boys on the thing because I didn't want to get super sad about that one. But yeah, Sanctuary is pretty damn fantastic. It's got a lot of manly men doing manly things, but it's also got a lot of really smart political intrigue. It's somewhere between the Yakuza video games and House of Cards in terms of the tone and the subject matter. Reading it, you will learn a lot about how Japanese politics functions or doesn't function, which is great just on its own. It's really like interesting to read about that. But then it's equally interesting to watch something like, say, Shin Godzilla or the new Kado, The Right Answer, which is amazing, by the way, new seasonal anime that's just so good. But or play Persona 5, for instance, and just see how like the entrenched problems of Japanese politics kind of inform those stories. And Sanctuary really gives you sort of like a back end look at what's wrong with Japan. And even though it was written almost 30 years ago now, it is still super duper relevant because Japanese politics is stagnant as all hell. And the Yakuza side of things is fun and exciting and cool. And if you like watching gangster movies like The Godfather, this will definitely scratch that itch and then some.
Jeff, that's a hard act to follow.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
You covered basically. Yeah, honestly, like I'm just gonna piggyback off of everything Jeff said, and yeah, everything he said is 100% objectively correct. Like, there's no subjectivity in this.
I'm the anime pope.
Bullshit.
I'm infallible. I'm I'm the anime pope.
Yes,
that's just how it works.
That's exactly what it is.
Anime pope.
Where's your funny hat, sir?
Where's your hat? Yeah.
Oh God, I not in here. Unfortunately.
What anime hat would represent the anime pope, though? That's the question.
It's gotta be
It would be, look, if it was gonna be super anime, it would have elements that felt pope-ish, but it would be like a really elaborate mask. And when he put it on, he would transform into an actual pope.
Into anime pope.
Into a super pope or something.
Super pope.
Just really long yellow hair is what would happen. Super Pope 3.
The hat just gets bigger.
The hat just grows. Yeah.
And that's Super Pope 3, then it goes down the back, and then that's Super...
And your, like, forehead grows as well.
Yeah.
Or is that Super Saiyan 4? No, Super Saiyan 4 doesn't exist.
And then at Super Pope God, the hat just turns blue.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Sanctuary.
Sanctuary.
I mostly echo a lot of that. I think the politics of it all are very interesting. Art-wise, I'm torn between, like, God, the art is incredible, and also, God damn it, why does everybody have the exact same face? So there's that. Yeah. But overall, the story is really interesting. So.
Yeah. I agree. 100%. The story, both the politics and the Yakuza side, are both very fascinating, and it's also very fascinating how intertwined they are and how the mangaka is balancing the story with both of them, and making them equally fascinating. And I am very excited to read more because I have a craving for more of what's going to come, because I feel like it's just going to get better and better. But yeah, I agree also with what Dodger said about the art. There's times where I'm like, this looks so good, and then times I'm like, did he just copy and paste that face from, like, the panel before?
Right? I want so badly to just do a collage of different people all doing the same Blue Steel face.
Yes.
Because they all do it. It's so bizarre. I'm just like, it's like the same tilt, the same eye, like everything was looking exactly the same. And I'm like, oof, you have a face you love. You have a face you love to draw, sir.
Yeah, it's a handsome face.
It is.
I mean, there's an even more handsome face up under Yokurama's picture right now.
The most handsome faces. Right there.
But yeah, this is also, like, you brought up that you want to just read more. Aaron, and this is like one of the fastest binge reads I've ever done.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up.
Yeah.
For people.
I read this because my friend was like, "This is like the best manga." Like my friend who's not super into anime and manga, who knows that obviously I'm pretty into anime and manga, was like, "Yo, you got to read Sanctuary. It's the best thing ever." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, maybe it's pretty good." And then I went and I read it, and I like read through the whole thing in 3 nights. Just did nothing but read Sanctuary. It was so good.
Yeah, that's a really good point to bring up before we get out of spoiler free section. This is a really fast read. Like even when there's lots of dialogue, it's so quick. Like I went through this 27 chapters. It took me like an hour and a half, something like that. Like it doesn't
I
even
think it took
take
me
very
about
long.
that long to read it
Yep.
too.
So fast. And so if it sounds like something you're interested in, you can go and blaze through at least like half about what we're going to talk about and be able to come back before the podcast is even finished and be like, hey, now I know what you're talking about. So it's a very, very quick read, if that makes it sound more interesting to you.
Yeah, definite maturity warnings
Oh yeah.
for this.
Mhm.
Like tons of maturity warnings for
Lots of
this,
boob
but also
touching.
super fast read. So
Yeah. So it balances it out, you know?
yeah.
Hey. All right, does anyone else have anything they would like to add before we get to spoiler section?
Let's do it.
All right.
Do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's go for it.
Countdown, please.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Tokai's God.
Yeah.
Who?
Tokai.
Oh, I thought you said
Yokai.
yokai, and I was like,
Yokai.
There's a yokai here.
I don't want to
Yokai.
live in a
No.
world where Tokai is God. No, thank you.
A lot of people would get beat up. That's for sure.
A lot of women
Yeah.
would get raped as well.
A lot of women would get raped if Tokai was God. Let's be for real.
Yeah.
He's like evil Kamina. That's the way I saw him. Like he was evil Kamina for this manga, and it was great. I love Tokai.
I
Like,
literally, there were so many situations where I was like, this is the moment where this guy's finally going to die. And then he didn't. He's lived through so much shit. And I'm just like, when is this guy going to die? He won't. He won't. He's just got that fucking fighting Yakuza spirit. He's just never going to die.
All right. So if you don't want Tokai to be God, who's God then?
I mean, Hojo's pretty
Ojo's pretty great.
godlike right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's pretty on top of his game for the most part.
I do really love the way that they establish the stakes of their whole operation. Like, sorry, I know that we haven't done our normal primary question, but I really love how often they reminded you, like, these kids, these dudes are ready to do whatever they have to do to fulfill their goals. Like, how often that gets reaffirmed, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ. Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
They also do a really good job of establishing like why things need to change by showing you the opposition that they face to what they want to do. Like not the leader, the de facto leader of the Liberal Democratic Party, which is of course Conservative Party because Japan is weird like that, is such a absolute scumbag and so vile, just the way that they portray him, that like you root for these guys to do whatever it takes to unseat these horrible people who are running the country into the ground.
But by that same token, I would say that those youngsters that we're supposed to be rooting for are also horrible people.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I found myself like rooting for the lesser of two evils, but I think what made it okay to root for the lesser of two evils was how entertaining those characters were and how they handled every situation they found themselves in.
Yeah, and I thought it was really fascinating how they paced the reveal about what's going on in Japan with the current leaders and the reveal about the two main characters' backstory. I'm really glad that they kind of intertwined the way that they revealed both sides of those things in a very similar pace. I'm glad that we didn't get their backstory in like chapter 1 or anything like that, because I was I wanted to know right away why these two were so connected. But I think that the way that they revealed it was a really good call on the mangaka's part.
But that spacing out of what's going on in the present and what went on in the past is part of what I think makes this such like a fast and easy read, because there's always something new being delivered to you within any given chapter. And it's always something fresh compared to what you were looking at last. So maybe there's like a big political turn that happens. Maybe there's a big like mafia murder that goes down. Or maybe you find out something else about their time in Cambodia and what led them to the place that they're at now. But all of that's interesting in its own way, and it all bounces around between different points of interest, so that it's never monotonous of like, okay, another chapter, another guy's getting brutally murdered by Hojo or whatever.
And oh crap. Oh, and there's no like flashback or anything. There's no constant like, oh, we already saw this, but they're showing it to remind us of it again. Like, it's just very nice, like in the moment we're being told the information that we need to, and you have to pay attention to really get all of it and keep it, which is another reason that I'm glad they didn't give us the background right away, because I feel like if they had, they would have constantly reiterated it by showing us the same scenes over and over again, which a lot of manga I think tend to do, where they'll just reference what happened before instead of giving a new reveal or new information. So I think that the way that they revealed that was really good. So we kind of skipped over the first question that we usually start with. So if we want to go back to that, we usually start with, what were your expectations before reading this manga? Or in your case, Jeff, what were your expectations the first time you went in reading it? So if anybody has anything they'd like to bring up, touch on with that, go ahead.
Well, I mean, yeah, my expectations were that it would be really good, because like I said, my friend said that it was the best manga he'd ever read. So I figured it would at least be decent. But I didn't really know what to expect, because I went in pretty cold. So I just looked at the cover and I was like, maybe this is some kind of delinquent story or something like that. It wasn't like, it's got that sort of very realistic style of those 90s delinquent manga.
Yeah.
So I was like expecting, I guess, more fights than I got, and less really smart political maneuvering. But yeah, ultimately, what it turned into was Japanese House of Cards, but better. Yeah.
I had literally never heard of this manga before.
Same.
So when I saw it on the list, when I read the description last week, I was like, I have no idea what to expect, but I saw that it had a very high rating on my anime list, which was fascinating. So I was expecting, like you said, a lot more of a delinquent side of things. Not nearly as much fast-paced politics to go down. The politics, even though from the description it should give the impression that there's going to be a lot of politics, but it was still a lot more than I expected. And also, I don't usually enjoy a lot of politic type stories. So I was a little hesitant, a little weary going in, but I found myself a lot more engaged and interested in the story than I expected myself to be.
My expectations for this manga were, I guess, see, I remember seeing it in a video that Jeff made a while back. I remember seeing that video. So I know that it was good, but I only had that vague recollection of the video because I didn't bother to go look at it again. I didn't read the manga after having watched the video, though I did make a mental note of it, which is why I made the schedule. I wanted it on the schedule.
We just like slipped it in there.
Oh yeah, no, I ninja'd
like,
that one on there. But yeah, so my expectations were, all right, it's an older manga. I'm based on the art style and just the general feel that I got from it, at least within the first chapter. I was expecting it to be more shonen-y, I guess, like in terms of like, all right, like you guys have seen those I guess those corny like detective shows from like the 70s, right? That's what I was expecting.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not what I got. I got something that far exceeded my expectations. It was a spectacular read. Yeah, that's all I really have to say, you know, outside like basically what Aaron and Dodger their experience was. You know, I went into this mostly blind.
Yeah.
That's it.
I absolutely didn't know what to expect. I didn't think that it was going to be as politically charged as it was. I thought it was going to be a lot more action. But I enjoyed what I got out of it. I especially didn't expect the art style that it has because I didn't look it up ahead of time. So when I started reading, I was like, oh, this is way more realistic of an art style than I was thinking it was going to be. But yeah, I did have a little bit of I guess reading pains with it because so many people had same face syndrome that I couldn't tell who was who for a while there.
Yeah.
But eventually I realized, oh, it's just like in a really weird moe manga where you just have to look at their outfits or their hairstyle and then you figure out who they are. Ah, that dude's wearing a white suit. It's Hojo.
All right, so Sanctuary is confirmed as being moe. Perfect.
Yeah.
I mean,
we nailed it.
MangaPod
MangaPod did it again.
Honkai is my waifu.
On there.
Honkai is my waifu. But yeah, like as they definitely do have pretty similar faces because it like the art style is somewhere between like just think of any Bancho manga really, like any like delinquent manga and Rex Morgan MD, you know, that sort of like hyper realistic stylization. But one thing that I think pushes the art above a lot of other manga is how much detail is put into the backgrounds and the staging of every scene.
Yeah.
Because like every place that you see, it feels like a real place, and I'm not sure if they were using like I'm not sure how much of this was done on computers, because the backgrounds are detailed to the point that they could be edited photos. But even then, like the way that they set up rooms tells you about the characters who occupy those rooms. You know, if you're in a car, what they've got around tells you about their vices, whether they like to drink or smoke. There's always really nice establishing shots of cities when location changes, like when the story shifts to, say, Shanghai. You know, you see those really detailed and beautiful dragon boats. The visuals in this manga always manage to impress me, even if, yeah, I did notice the same face popping up over and over again, because I guess he just really likes that face.
Just fucking loves that face.
And,
except for with old people. Old people, I could always tell them apart.
Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, the head of the liberal, or the financial manager of the Liberal Democratic Party, that old bald asshole.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's so distinctive.
Yeah.
The panels, it's also got like really good panel flow. I feel like the action goes really nicely from one panel to the next, and helps to draw your eye to what's important. I've said this before. We've all said this before. It's a very easy and fast read because it just draws your eye through the panels really quickly.
It's very quick. And to go back with what you were saying about setting the scene, and like setting the stage for each chapter, I definitely noticed that when at like the beginning of each chapter, whenever they move locations, they do a very good job about even like no dialogue or anything. It's just showing like where they're in a bar and their women are smoking and they're talking. Like it does a very good job of establishing that, and made it feel that much more like noir-y or Godfather. Like just felt like a very Hollywood type older movie, or gangster movie, which I really enjoyed. I really appreciated that because it made me feel like that, gave the atmosphere just much more of a realistic feeling, which with this kind of story, you don't want it to feel too unrealistic, because it's like such a supposed to be politics and all of that. Like you don't want to feel like you're in a fantasy anime manga land.
Aaron, that actually raises a really good question. Jeff, you alluded to the fact that you'd like to see an anime of this, but how about with Hollywood doing all these live action adaptations? How would you feel about a Hollywood adaptation of Sanctuary?
A Hollywood adaptation of Sanctuary would be interesting, and very difficult to do. I don't think that it would be impossible. But if it wasn't set in Japan, it would be hard to do, because the story is all about the very specific world of the Yakuza and the Japanese diet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. Is like I don't know how well that would come across, because if Hollywood was making it, they would have to go above and beyond to help like the average viewer understand like Japanese political culture, which I think might turn into kind of a slog to watch.
Japan made a live action movie of it. Yeah.
I haven't seen that movie. It may be good. I don't know. I feel like to really do this justice, you do kind of need a Hollywood budget for bringing on like great actors and having great music. And just impeccable set design would be really important for this. But I do think that some of the themes could also be applied in a very relevant way to American politics. And I mean, American politics have different problems, but if you took the core idea of somebody in either the mafia or a drug cartel or something like that, and somebody in the liberal or Republican parties working together to fix, I don't know, pay-to-play politics, which is the big problem for North American politics. You could make an interesting movie out of that. You would just have to adapt things very heavily. I feel like this story could be more easily adapted to something like to a place like South America, where you have more entrenched political corruption and like a more single party system, somewhere like Brazil, give this to the team that made Narcos and just make this take some of those elements and blend that with this. And I think that could be really good, but it would be very difficult to make into a good movie. And I doubt that Hollywood would be able to do a good job with it, just because they'd be too concerned about making money and not pissing anybody off.
Yeah. Makes sense. Should we talk about our characters here?
Yeah.
Quite a big cast, but very important ones. So let's talk about Hojo first, just because he kind of is the first one we meet. He seems to be at the forefront and the focus of the majority of this part. So what are you guys' thoughts on him? What do you guys think about him?
He's very lucky. And I think like the whole, like that isn't just for plot convenience. It's also like an element of his character, like how he was able to escape Cambodia was predicated on his luck, and they
Yeah.
acknowledge that.
Mhm.
But it like very early they establish, okay, well, he was taken from one of those locations by the henchmen of one of these political figures, right? Early on. And then the cop just happened to be tailing him and happened to be in the right place in the right time and save him from this situation.
Yeah.
So just like there are a couple other instances, and I feel like thematically linking or not thematically in terms of as an element of characterization, I feel like that makes Hojo an interesting character, and if it wasn't for that aspect to his character, I wouldn't be as interested in him.
Yeah.
Like I haven't seen enough weakness in Hojo. I would like to see more weakness in his character.
Yeah.
I totally feel that. I really like him as sort of a representation of where the Yakuza is supposed to be. Like, I thought that it was really interesting whenever they talked about like old Yakuza versus new Yakuza. Like, you've got to use your head, you've got to know how to play the game. Like, old Yakuza, yeah, we would burst in and shoot everybody and then move on with our lives, but that's not how we do it anymore. And the fact that Hojo is like such a perfect person to be in the position he's in because he's very smart. And he's able, he can be cutthroat and he can be ruthless, but his intelligence is what is going to help him in like this new version of the Yakuza that has kind of taken hold. So yeah, I find him really interesting in that way.
He can sort of play the game on both sides of that equation. Like, he's very smart, but he's also not afraid to just buckle down and kill people, and he's not afraid to get killed either. Yeah. Like, very early on, he impresses Tokai by just shoving a knife,
stabbing his hand.
And like, the thing is that he's not as ruthless as Tokai, but he's both smart and has guts, and that means that he can get the respect of somebody like that who's crazy. Tokai's crazy, but he's just smart enough to know that he's not smart enough to ever run the Yakuza, and he needs somebody he can respect, but who also will let him go a little wild. And that, like, they set up the way that those two characters can work together really well. Hojo and Asami, they both have a spirit of determination around them. That one of the themes of the manga is that's like inspiring to the people at the bottom and very threatening to the people at the top. And one of the things I like about the manga is that it has it covers a spectrum of all sorts of different reactions to that spirit from both of them. Because there are people at the top who recognize that these people are going to climb, and they would be better to help them and work with them than try to keep them down, because they're both kind of forces of nature in their own right.
So early on, it was like, I can't remember quite when, but it was revealed that they played rock, paper, scissors to decide who was going to do what. What do you guys think would have happened if they were switched? I mean, like, how do you think the, like, everything would have gone down of what we know from them so far? Obviously, I'm happy for the story that it is the way that it is. But just, just for fun's sake, what do you guys think?
I do think that Asami is, like, Hojo has displayed much more of a personality that's able to make a decision and just, like, go for it. I feel like because we've had moments where Asami has had to say to himself, like, Hojo's had to do much worse than this. So, like, I guess I can do this thing, right? I feel like Asami is a bit more tentative and
My
probably
cat's
wouldn't.
saying
Oh, hi, Mew
Oh,
Mew.
meow meow.
hi. Hey, Karo.
I feel like
Aw.
Asami might have not done as well in the Yakuza.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
fortunate the way that it turned out,
Mhm.
just based on their personalities.
Yeah, they do kind of like they talk about that a little bit later on. They discuss how things would have gone down differently. Without going into spoilers, the manga does explore that idea a little.
Oh, interesting.
So I feel like I can't comment, like I feel like I can't comment on this.
Yeah.
Because the idea of how would Hojo do in politics is it's interesting, and the writer knows it's interesting, so he does explore that later on. Be that hypothetically or whatever, I'm not gonna say.
Can I note that I thought it was really funny how Asami's like initial reveal to being Hojo's friend was with like the shining in his eyes when he turns around to talk to the kid or whatever. I was like, who is this? I was very confused for a split second about what was going on.
I love, that the first time that that they interact, it's Hojo saying, "I'll remember your name," and he's like, "I wish you wouldn't," and then they're like, "Well, just kidding, we're best friends." It's really funny to me.
I thought that was really funny too. What about the head of the police? What do you guys think about her?
I was actually really disappointed when when it started being implied that she was obsessed with Hojo.
Yeah.
It was like she had like a
too.
picture of him in her house, and I was
Framed.
like,
It was framed.
yeah, I was like, what the fuck? Why? Because up until that point, I was like, I love this chick. I love how she's just like, she's dedicated to her job, and they're trying to, and in a manga where women for the most part have just been fucked on random panels, like she's the one woman in this manga where I've been like, yeah, she's like trying to kick ass in her field. And then like they had this reveal where she had a framed photo of this dude. And I was like,
up to that point, maybe I missed it, but up to that point, for me, I didn't get where the fascination was coming from. I thought it was just her being dedicated to her job and wanting to take this guy down. And then all of a sudden, it just felt like
he pulled like a really, really shitty prank on her.
Oh yeah, that.
With the tomato juice and all of that. And
so I was like, oh, well, I think like she's, and she had the whole line of, I think you'd be surprised. A woman's pride is more important than a man's, or whatever the fuck. And I was like, okay, so yeah, she wants to take him down because he's a criminal, but also she's like, you fucked with me, I'll fuck with you, right? And then it was like, or she's in love with him. Like I was so confused.
I mean, she's not the only strong character who's in love with Hojo. I mean, Tokai's in love with Hojo.
Pretty in
Everyone's in love with Hojo.
Very true.
Tokai's so in love with him that he like eats his face. Basically.
I also love the stockbroker lady. She's pretty
dude.
Yeah, she's pretty cool.
She just shows up to be like, let me tell you about the economy of Japan, and then let us bone. And then like that's all she does, and it's funny. I love her.
I do really enjoy her. Yeah.
But I mean, also like Hojo is introduced by like walking to his car and flustering two police ladies by being like, yeah, I'm Yakuza. And they're like, oh my. So,
but like, I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry. I don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, I it is a little bit predictable that like basically every woman who appears on the panels is gonna want to bang one of them, and that's a little unfortunate. But that does also sort of play into the gangster movie tone that they're going for.
Definitely.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Of like sex and violence being intertwined.
Right.
Speaking of which, Tokai just smacking the lady he's fucking.
Oh my god.
Oh, that panel made me laugh so much. That was great. Like he's just hate fucking this American girl,
Yeah, what the fuck?
and then just
straight up slaps
Slap.
her with no word. Just like
He went on a really long monologue as well while they were boning.
Yeah.
Like a really long, weird monologue. Like, yeah, I'm Yakuza, I'm Japanese. I'm fucking you like I'm fucking your country. I was like, like, you need to tone it down. But Tokai's not good at toning anything down ever. So
no.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Oh, what really cemented Tokai as a badass for me was the whole him faking having cancer.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
that was also super fucked up, right? I was like, oh shit.
My emotions were toyed with in
I
that.
know, right?
I was like, oh my god, you're dying. No wonder you're like gone ballistic and you lost your lady lover friend. Though, okay, speaking of that, the whole thing after he starts to rape the head of the police and he says she looks a little like my late lady anyway. I was like, wait a minute. Are you talking about your mom here? Or are you talking about your
I mean,
he's talking about his
heard the whole
ex-wife.
story about his
Okay.
wife.
That's why.
But there was
Yeah.
a moment where I thought he was talking about his mom, and I was like, then it's good that you stopped. Dude.
I mean, this is manga. That's okay. Yeah, everything's okay.
I mean, we have read. this-
She looks
this
like
on-
my mom anyway.
No, it's fine. She's only his half mom.
Only
Don't
Yeah,
worry.
she's his stepmom. It's fine.
It's okay.
Japan's a different culture. It's not.
Yeah,
fucked
I
up.
just
Don't worry
don't
about it.
It's inappropriate for us to judge. You just have to. It's good. Just.
I feel like I
accept-
can judge Tokai a little bit, though, based
Yeah.
on what
Tokai
we've
is
seen.
there to draw your judgment, so that like,
Tokai is
all
literally
the
like
heroes look better.
Yeah, he literally symbolizes like filth, like the filth of the Yakuza, right? Like
Hmm.
he's the one who shows you just how terrible it can be, because up until that point they've very often been like, oh yeah, everybody just thinks that Hojo is like this, pansy boy, right? And it is interesting having that delineation between him and somebody like Tokai, who is just so quintessentially like a fucking awful human being, like those sides of the Yakuza being compared.
But like, Tokai kind of represents every like aspect of the classic Yakuza gangster, because he's not just like a through and through horrible person. He's got like an intense loyalty to that makes him like really reliable. And the story is just getting now to the point where Hojo's really going to start taking advantage of that at the end of this first part, where you see him meeting with that guy who throws the puppy in the water. There's also worse people than Tokai in the story. And it's pretty satisfying to see him go full Tokai on them.
What did you guys think about the old men who are currently in power in Japan? What are you guys' thoughts on the antagonists, I guess you could say? Because like Lou said earlier, nobody's really a good person in this. So what do you guys think about the current opposition that Ojo and Asami are facing?
They're all assholes, and I totally understand why this manga is so anti-old people. Like that, it did a good job of convincing me of the idea that old people are terrible and have built a system that is solely geared towards maintaining their interest.
Yeah,
And
I think
like
that
it doesn't account for the youth.
Yeah, I think that that's a concept that, even though, yes, this manga is very Japan-centric in terms of politics, I think that the sentiment of it, just in general, is accessible. Like this idea of, why aren't the people who are going to continue to be in this country having more sway in politics? Like, why is the country being run by entirely old people, you know, and that's like an issue that exists in a lot of places.
Yeah, and I like it continues to be an issue to this day in Japan, right? Like there are stories coming out right now that sort of focus on these same problems. Persona 5 is all about that.
I was literally thinking about the potato famine.
It's all the old people's fault. That's what I heard.
Exactly.
They ate all the potato chips.
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, the entire storyline of Persona 5 is like embracing the rebellious side of yourself to create a better world because you can't trust the people in power. Yeah. That pervades so well.
Trying to think about there's just so much politics that happen. Like there's so many reveals and so many different things that can something else that I was expecting was for a Yakuza, like heavy Yakuza manga, I was expecting a lot more depth and guns and stuff like that, and there's definitely it in there, but I was going and expecting just bloodbaths constantly, which I think the mangaka probably wants you to do because Hojo is all about, like Dodger, what you said earlier, about changing and being the new Yakuza and thinking with brains instead of just being brute force. But yeah, I was expecting so much more blood. So then when we got it, I was like, yeah. Like when Hojo shot the guy in the back of the neck.
Oh my god, that was
like,
great.
dude.
Yeah.
I feel like they're building to more later. Like we'll have our massive bloodbath. We just got to get through everything first.
Everything is so slow and like, everything is pieced together very specifically with these people right now. And yeah, I think Lou is right. We're definitely gonna have some moments where it's like they didn't have time to piece things together perfectly, and shit's gonna go down, and it's gonna be messy. You know.
Well.
I mean, the thing is, like, right now they're at a place where Asami and Hojo's machinations are mostly going on behind the scenes, right? And it's still mostly all according to Keikaku. And if things go wrong, it's just a matter of bad luck or bad timing.
Yeah.
But the story, like, has to get to a place where the other characters, like the opposition, is aware of what they're trying to do and starts actively trying to stop them.
Yeah.
And that's when things are going to get bloody.
Yeah.
I would say is a safe prediction from this point, and that's what I was thinking at this point when I was reading the manga the first time.
And we're following their journey kind of as like the opposition is learning about them. And so it's like the very beginning of the political and Yakuza careers. Like they can't just go full out and just balls to the walls right away. Like they have to bide their time and plant their seeds and do all of that, which I think is the whole point of this first part, for sure. So we have come up on about 45 minutes. Do you guys have anything else you would want to bring up, make sure we touch on before we get to final thoughts and ratings?
I would just want to reiterate that the art for the most part is fantastic. There's just incredible same face syndrome in a sea of beautiful artwork. Yeah. And it's really confusing and weird, but overall everything looks really incredible. There's a lot of detail in this manga.
Yeah. Though the best panel of all, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it.
Oh my god, yes.
But it is where the mangaka tried to do something real fancy and artistic and had Asami take his glasses off and then do a like point of view through his glasses, but it just makes his mouth look ginormous compared to the rest of his face.
So funny. I loved it.
It is on, I can tell you what, it is in chapter 16, page 15 is what it is on. And it is my favorite. All the blue steel faces aside, it is my favorite panel next to Chokai smacking a lady that he's humping.
Yeah, it's clearly still the best one, but the one that you just showed, that's a solid number 2.
It's really good. Yeah. Anybody else have anything that they want to make sure gets brought up? Or they think that we missed?
I think I've said pretty much everything. Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like if anything else we could bring up is just going to lead to a massive rabbit hole of other possible conversations, and we're running out of time. So
yeah. All right, let's do final thoughts and ratings. Would anybody like to go first? It is a very good pan, and she's hopelessly in love with him.
I know, right?
Don't you know? Can't you feel the love? Yeah, final thoughts and ratings. Anybody want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I would give this manga a 7, I think. I definitely enjoyed it. I thought that for the most part the art was great. It wasn't incredible for me though. It was just like a quick read that had some political intrigue in it. I would like to read more, but yeah, overall it was just like, yeah, that was a pretty good read. I enjoyed that. So I would give it a 7.
That's oh, sorry, heard a baby for a second. That's where I was landing with my score as well. I really enjoyed it. I was very interested in the politics and just the ties between what was happening with both the political standpoint and the Yakuza, everything. I'm very interested in seeing how everything plays out. I love the fact that it's a completed manga, and that it has a set ending, so we'll get to see that. I'm just very interested in what's going to happen, but I am thoroughly invested thanks to the pacing of everything. I like that the mangaka trusts that we are intelligent and can follow along with what's happening. I am interested in seeing where the characters go and everything, and I think it's a very fascinating read so far and a very interesting critique on the political system in Japan that can also relate to a lot of different places. And so I think a 7 right now because I was definitely entertained, but I think that score will go up the more that I read it.
I'm gonna go ahead and give it an 8. I feel like this section of reading did a lot in terms of establishing the framework for the story. We know a lot of the major players, so we know who are going to be the political opponents for Asami. We know that Hojo has grand plans for what he wants to do with the underworld in Japan. We know the objectives for basically everyone, and now we're stepping into a phase where we're going to see everything come into action. Now, in terms of the execution of the whole process of setting them up and the backstory for everything, I think it was extremely interesting. I do have that same issue that Dodger has with the art, though I feel like I was able to eventually just kind of like look past it because of how intrigued I was by the story. So I feel like an 8 is a great score, or an accurate score for how I feel for this batch of reading. And like Aaron said, I do expect my score to go up when I revisit it at some point in the future.
As for me, it's a great read every time I read it. But for this section of the story, I would say that an 8 out of 10 is probably a fair evaluation of just up to where we stopped. It is like the story is just getting started, and it spends a lot of time establishing stuff. And while exciting things do happen in this part of the manga, it's definitely still ramping up. Now, as from the perspective of somebody who's read the whole thing, I would say that my score for it would be either a 9 or a 10 out of 10. Because the places that this manga goes and the things that it says, the things that it has to say about the world are powerful and very. It's just an addictive read, and it gets better and better the more you read it.
Awesome. Well, we're definitely gonna have to read more of this on manga. Oh, I thought
Oh,
my
yeah.
armrest was down, but it was not.
How you doing?
Good. Sweet. So we all definitely recommend that you go and check out Sanctuary, and we will for sure be revisiting it in the future. And that wraps up our discussion on this manga. So what I'm going to do now is read the description for the manga that we are reading next week, and everybody in chat gets to guess what it is. And I will not be saying the name of it when I read the description. 2 weeks in a row, not happening a third one. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Okay. It's nice and short. I like that. In the 18th century, seeking freedom and equality, the event that became the starting point of the modern French society, the French Revolution began. There was one more protagonist that lived within the darkness. Blank. He was the 4th-generation family head of the Blank family and Blank of Paris. This is the history spelled Historie. Is that like a French spelling of it?
That's the French spelling.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Because I was like, what? Of him nobly facing the harsh fate, ... Good luck, everybody. I didn't even have to really blank anything in there.
You did it, Aaron. Well done.
I did do it without saying the name of it. It helps that it's not just like casually put into the description like Sanctuaries was.
Exactly.
Sanctuary. Nobody's got it yet. Nobody's got it. I had never heard. I have heard this one before.
I have a hint, that I think would excite both Aaron and Dodger.
Is it boys
it's
kissing?
by this. No.
Oh.
Maybe, I don't know, but it's by the same mangaka that did Koko no Hito.
Oh, really?
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Which is completely different. Like Koko no Hito was about mountain climbing.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
Wait, I'm trying to find that. No one has gotten it. Guys, it's a really easy word. It's one word. It's the opposite. Oh, you know what? What is the opposite of that? Yeah. I'm really stupid right now. That's a really the opposite of guilty is
not guilty.
not guilty.
The American criminal justice system has taught me.
Not guilty. Let's see. I'll give you 10 more seconds. Yeah, innocent.
Yeah, there we
Good
go.
job, guys. Next week we are discussing Innocent chapters 1 through 41. Let's go around and shout out our stuff super duper fast. I'm Erin of Happily Erin. I have a YouTube channel. You can find all the previous MangaPods there. Otherwise, I'm just weeaboo trash. Post just random things on there. I'm a lot more active currently on other social media, so if you want to come follow me on there, I'm Happily Erin all across the everything. I'm on Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, all that fun stuff. Come tweet anime stuff to me. Yeah.
Hi everybody, I'm Dodger. You might be watching this on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/dexbonus. You can also find me on youtube.com/pressheart2continue. I do gaming stuff and some anime stuff, and yeah, I would just love it if you would come and hang out. So
Cool. My name is Lou, and I'm from Lou Talks Anime, and I have a YouTube channel, Lou Talks Anime, where I occasionally talk about anime. It's kind of my thing. I'm more active on Twitter, though, so you can follow me on Twitter at Lou Talks Anime, and shit post with me, please. Send me your memes. Send them to die, because that's what needs to happen to all memes.
All the memes.
And that's
let
me.
them die.
That's me.
Let them die.
Okay, I'm done.
I'm Jeff Thu, professional shitbag. I run the YouTube channel Mother's Basement, which you can find at youtube.com/mothersbasement. There I do a little bit of video game stuff and a whole lot of anime content, mostly analysis videos, Although recently I've had a lot to say about like movies that I've seen and stuff like that. Just because, and I've had more to say about video games because it's a crazy year for video games. There's like a billion good things out. But if you want to hear somebody analyze the opening theme songs of your favorite anime, check out my series, What's in an OP. I've probably covered something that you love at this point, and I've got big plans for the future. So check that out. Follow me on Twitter at G0FF2. And I'm going to stop talking now because I've been shilling long enough.
Thank you so much for coming on. You're a wonderful guest as always. We really appreciate you coming on. You'll have to join us for the next sanctuary that we have as well.
Yes. When you get through the next 30 or so chapters, I will be here.
Awesome. Thank you all so much on Twitch and YouTube for watching this. If you're watching the VOD, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We will be here same time, same place next week, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, talking Innocent, chapters 1 through 41. And we will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Laters.
Bye.